If a breathing practice has ever made you feel anxious, this week's Take 5 is for you. Today we're going to talk about the three-part breath, also known as yogic breathing. It's the fifth in the series I'm doing on my favorite lessons from James Nestor's book, Breath. So, how do you do the three-part breath? Well, it's a simple practice. It's really foundational in yogic breathing. And it gets you in tune with where in your body you're sending your breath. And so the idea is that on the inhale, you first focus on filling the bottom part of your lungs, so breathing down into your belly. Then you shift your focus up to the bottom of your rib cage, filling that part of your lungs second. And then third and final, you fill the upper chest with your breath. And then on the exhale, you sort of go in that opposite direction. So you exhale, releasing the air from your upper chest, then your lower rib cage, and finally out from the bottom of your belly, sort of squeezing your muscles to get rid of all of the air that's in your lungs. And you just repeat that a few times. So you inhale down to the belly, up to the lower rib cage, up to the chest, exhale, chest, lower rib cage, belly. And just repeat that a few times. The reason I think this is a great practice for those who are anxious when they try breathing is that it helps you focus on belly breathing. And a lot of times when we get anxious when we're practicing a breathing technique, it's because we're breathing right up into our chest. It's a very shallow breathing, which ends up being much quicker. This rapid, shallow breathing sends a signal to the brain that we're nervous or scared or have a reason to be anxious. And I have personally found learning how to practice belly breathing as one of the top two things that helped me break through a lot of my anxiety in the last few years. The idea here is that when we practice this slow belly breathing, we are sending the signal to our brains that we are calm and we are safe. Because when we breathe up into the chest, we have that shallow, rapid breathing, we are sending the signal to our brain, we are stressed, we are nervous. And so we want to have the opposite effect by practicing this slow, deep breathing. This three-part breath in particular is helpful because it helps to make that connection between mind and body. So you are being forced to really think about your breath, where in your body your lungs are sort of filling. And you can also place your hand on your body and actually make that connection even stronger. That's one of the tips I have for practicing this. So it's not only facilitating that mind-body connection, but there's also some really good research behind the three-part breath. It's been shown to help decrease negative affect for people who are quitting smoking. And affect is just a fancy word essentially for your mood. And you can imagine if you're quitting smoking, you're not in a great mood. And so this has been shown to help with that. It helps to reduce stress. It facilitates that mind-body connection like I just mentioned. And the slow, deep breathing is what really helps activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which I've talked about quite a bit on the Working on Calm blog. And that is sending the signal to our brains to calm down. The parasympathetic nervous system is the one responsible for those rest and digest functions. And if we're in the fight or flight mode, activating the parasympathetic nervous system can help to decrease that and get our anxiety in check. Again, this is a practice, anyone can use this, but I particularly find it helpful if you feel anxious at times when you practice your breathing. A couple of things to keep in mind if you're practicing this. Obviously, if it makes you more anxious, stop and don't do it anymore, and maybe think about some other options. But whenever you're learning a new breathing technique, always practice sitting down or laying down, not while you're doing anything else or distracted. If you feel dizzy, stop, and don't push it too far. So this one's really easy to start and really like focusing on like, where am I doing, and taking too deep of a breath. And that can be stressful in itself. So think of this as a gentle practice. It's just one where you're trying to focus on these areas, but you're not forcing it. And like I mentioned before, placing your hand just sort of like on your belly, on your lower rib cage, up on your chest can be really helpful in guiding this. My last tip that I have is to try this with your eyes closed. I find it so much easier to focus on the area of my body when my eyes are closed and it's all I can pay attention to is sort of all those internal cues. This is one of those simple science-based strategies that I share on Take 5 regularly. If you like this type of stuff, considering signing up for my Take 5 newsletter, I'll deliver it directly to your inbox. And those who subscribe get my free guide, 5 ways to reduce stress and build resiliency in 5 minutes or less. Give this 3-part breath a try this week. Let me know how it goes. Changing our habits, building resiliency, managing stress and anxiety, it doesn't have to feel overwhelming. These are small practices we can do every day in order to feel calm and be well. Let me know how it goes.